Hello, this is an unannounced, unexpected live stream. Sometimes I don't like to have everything planned all the time, and it's easy for me to get into that kind of a thing where I've got to get this done, and I've got to get that done, and I've got to get this done, and I got to get that done, and it's just kind of one thing after another after another. And I know I've had folks request that I announce these live streams in advance. And to be fair, I have been better about that recently. I have had a few that I've announced in advance. But today I was just like, no, I'm just going to get online and have a bit of a chit chat and maybe answer some questions and see just how things go. Not really having any concrete plan. It is coffee hour, and I am not without said coffee. And if it's coffee time in your area, wherever you happen to be, I hope you'll join me for a nice warm coffee drink. For what it's worth, I have ground some Pete's Major Dickinson's blend. So Pete's Coffee is I think it's more nationwide than it used to be. It used to be only in California, and then it expanded throughout, it was Northern California, then it was all of California, and now I think it's kind of reaching even further. But they started off as a local brand, and I think they were some years ago acquired by Starbucks, but it's still really, really great and very enjoyable. And I am going to have a little bit of it along with, I've got like copious jugs of water here so that I can stay hydrated and everything going quite nicely if I need to sing or anything like that in helping, because live events are really about you. It's not about me. It's about you and what you're maybe working on or the questions that you might have or something to that effect. So the chat's open. Pop something in the chat and let's see how we go. I guess you do have to be a subscriber to the channel to put things in the chat, but you can always unsubscribe later. It's no big deal. Hey, Sam, question. What are your thoughts on vocal mist? I used it to help my voice right before juries. It seemed to help in the beginning, but upon singing my pieces for juries, I got dry. Yeah, so I am cautiously optimistic, if on a good day I'm cautiously optimistic about things like that, and then generally speaking I'm very dubious about them. Hello, Shugam. So look at the ingredients would be my advice to you, and see what's in there. If there are sugars or things that have, yikes, everything is erupting at once over here. If there are sugars, if there are salts, and you have to look at the chemical names to make sure that you really are, like, if it's a sugar, like, because sugar gets hidden in ingredients all the time, like condensed cane something or another. There's like a euphemism for sugar that involves like dehydrated cane substrate or it's something ridiculous like that. So look for sugars, look for alcohol components. Anything like that might feel good right at the moment that you spritz it, but the long-term effect is going to be probably not good. At the end of the day, if you can somehow have some water, and juries, a jury, for those of you that don't know, a jury is a very specific kind of performance environment. It usually involves your teacher. I suppose these could be on the, I've only experienced juries on the collegiate level when I was at university. But usually it involves your teacher as well as the other faculty teachers that are on staff. So, for example, if you're doing, like, you might go for your jury and you'll have like your teacher there, and then there might be the baritone and mezzo teachers as well, or something to that effect. And they generally are very serious. If you do not pass your jury, then they can boot you out of the program. So it's very, very serious. I don't know how many people that actually happens to, but juries are very serious. So getting back to your point here, if you could maybe have the water with you, and really, I've tried a lot of different teas and different things over the years. For me, at the end of the day, it just comes with that, but that doesn't mean that you could not. So you might consider that as well as like a little bit of a trick to try to get a little bit of juices flowing. Morning, Jeff. This is Mary Jo Grunwald. I was wondering if you plan on doing any additional lip trill warm-ups. Those seem to help me a lot with my breathing. Thank you. Well, I am now. I'm always happy to hear what's working for those of you who are participants on the channel and what you'd like to see more of. So sure, I'd love to do another lip trill video. I think they're fun and easy, and yeah, I can get that into the production schedule. Well, I'll put it into the production schedule today, but I probably won't be producing that video today. I'm not sure. I'm not. I have to look at the schedule. Quite frankly, I'm not exactly sure what is what's on the weeks ahead. I know what I have to shoot today and next week, but beyond that, I'm not sure. So sure, happy to do more lip trills. Hey Jeff, what is your opinion on musical institutions like Rock School London, Trinity London, ABRSM? Do they have high values in the field of music business? That's a really good question. And hello, Layla. I'm sorry. I know there's two ways to pronounce that, and it's been such a long time. Layla, I believe. Lila. Welcome to Coffee Hour. And Mary Jo Soprano. Sure. Yeah, well, I'm Mary Jo. When it comes to the lip trill videos, I'm always going to do them in all the variety of Fox. Trinity London, ABRSM, Rock School London. Yeah, look at the teachers and look at the curriculum. I'm a really big believer in the idea that it's not so much the school that you go to, but what you make of the experience. Now, if it's actively working against you, like if it's really just has a curriculum that isn't supporting what it is to be a musician, if it's not reinforcing kind of good music theory, music history skills, and I understand, like, I come from what would be considered a very classical kind of education when it comes from a music education standpoint. You know, we studied theory and history, and you know, I've worked and practiced counterpoint and contrapuntal motion for part writing and things like that. Those were part of, well, the counterpoint wasn't really part of the standard curriculum, but that's all part of what it is to be in that kind of a school. And I feel somewhat biased in that regard, in that I would argue that those fundamental skill sets make you an overall more competitive participant in the music market writ large, regardless of what you're doing. So knowing counterpoint makes you a better rock and roll musician too. I'm not saying you have to know counterpoint to be a rock and roll musician, but if you know it, then working in that field becomes much easier, and your skills have a higher value because you can do things that others might take a lot longer to accomplish. And in a studio where you're paying by the hour, that costs a lot of money. So you've got to look at what they're teaching in those skills. I don't really know a lot about them. And if there was one in particular that you were thinking about going to, I'd go and have a look at, like, not you necessarily, you should be looking at what their curriculum is, but I would happily go and look at the curriculum and just see what's going on there and see if it sounded like it was comprehensive and going to serve you well as a musician in the bigger picture of what it is to be a musician. So, are they having theory? Do they have some business relation courses? Are you learning production? What are the skills that you are learning, and what are the skills required for what you want to do? If they match up, then it might be a really good fit. If it doesn't, then you might want to look someplace else. And if you're not sure of what exact area of the music realm you wish to be a part of, then you might still consider something else, and I would argue for an education more based in the fundamentals, all those theory and history and things like that, because ultimately it's all going to serve you quite well as you move forward with your career. Hippopotamus Bosch, I love that. General advice for maintaining a long singing career. So many rock and pop singers are ruined after a few decades of bad technique lifestyle. Sure, yeah. Learn to make a good transition over the secondo passaggio would be a really good one, and be careful of glottal attacks no matter where you are in your range would be the two big takeaways. I think those will contribute more towards vocal fatigue and potential damage than most anything else that I've seen. I suppose equally on an equal footing with that is a good, firm, fundamental skill set. So make sure that you've got your appoggio breath management really firmly in hand, like you have an understanding of how it works and you can practice it and are using it as a general rule, as opposed to, like, you want to integrate it into your technique. We don't want it to be something that we do sometimes when we're practicing, but then it just gets kind of pushed to the wayside. It has to be a part of the way that we sing with our voices. Those would be the big takeaways that I would suggest for that. You could talk too about sort of general vocal hygiene, drinking water, getting good rest, kind of managing your fatigue level, being gentle to yourself if you've got an illness, if you're sick, in the recovery period, and all those kinds of things too. Hi from India. Hello. Hello from California. Can you help me with one thing? My lowest note, F#3. F#3, okay. And I can touch up to G#5 by humming. But after D#5, my voice kind of feels like female, kind of, or childish, like less power. Yeah, I'd want to. I'm not exactly sure where to. There could be any number of different things, and you've even said you haven't established good registration events because you can only do it when you're humming, and you can only touch it. And then after G#5, it feels like female, kind of, childish, less power. Those aren't objectively descriptive terms, but I'm interpreting those as meaning a change in the mode of phonation. So you're not consistent across the registration events. So it could literally be anything. It could be appoggio breath management. It could be vowel alignment in the normal range of your voice. It could be, it's going to be a combination of those two for sure, and it's going to be a combination of how you're managing the registration events. Furthermore, F#3, and I don't know if you're male or female. You're kind of making a comparison. You say it feels like female, so I might assume that you're male, but I don't really want to assume anything when I'm kind of making, recommendations of this sort. So if I assume you're male, and then F# on the low end is inconsistent with just about every lower boundary. That's almost not even. That's just at the lower boundary for what is typically the location of the registration. There's a registration event there that most male vocalists don't realize. And we almost always sing past it without noticing it whatsoever. It's the sort of lower boundary for where the cricothyroid muscles are working in any capacity. Beyond that point, they're not working at all. But if that's the absolute lowest note that you can sing, well, then there's a whole aspect of your voice that you're not even using. So there's all kinds of question marks around it. And much as I would love to help more than that, I would say get back to fundamentals in the most comfortable range of your voice, and I would stay clearly away from the zona de passaggio and secondo passaggio registration events for a little while. Get your vowel alignment in good order. Work on apagio breath management, and then start to work on the registration events. Hi, Jeff. How often should I do the over the break warm-up? I've been doing it daily, but I'm a bit scared that I might be overdoing it. Lovely question. So here's the thing. I've done a few of those, and I've done a few videos on the channel, to kind of put it lightly. So I'm not exactly sure which one you're doing. If it is one of the videos that goes over the break that includes a reasonable section of thyroarytenoid dominant singing practice prior to going over the break, the secondo passaggio, that's fine. Those are designed to be daily warm-ups. If it's one of the videos that only has exercises that transit the secondo passaggio, you can still do that every day. But I would suggest that you do a different video before you do it. And I would further amend that to say that you should do a video that does not include full range in the title. And the reason why I'm suggesting this is that video, the one that does not have full range in the title, will stay below the secondo passaggio for your FOC. So whatever FOC you're choosing, whatever voice range you're picking, soprano, mezzo, whatever, it will stay below the secondo passaggio. And then you can go on and do the over the break exercises. But like I said, if it's one of the longer ones and it has that section that's kind of working in the thyroarytenoid dominant singing voice, the chest voice, without going over the break, it's fine. It should be fine. They're meant to be used on a daily basis. The warm-ups on my channel, to be clear, are vocal exercises, and they are constructed to be done on a daily basis. That being said, I would budget my time wisely. The registration event practices, those videos, when they're only registration event practices, are typically 10 to 15 minutes, and that's about as much time as I would recommend you spend working on those techniques. Spend another 10 or 15 minutes on thyroarytenoid dominant singing voices, vowel alignment, apagio breath management. Talking about rock, do you have any tips for when learning growling? Yes, I do. I'm probably not going to gurgle too much, but I'm going to mute my mic anyway. Yeah, take it slow. Whatever it is. So take it slow. Sorry about that. Take it slow. Break it down into general exercises, i.e., I am experimenting with my voice and learning how to make the sound that I wish to make. And then also working on the specific lines from the song that you want to do the growling vocal distortion on. We're going to keep it, like in the general exercises, keep it in a very comfortable range. And always budget time to come back to neutral phonation. So if you're, here, and working on getting your growl together, and I know, like, I'm not particularly good at that sound. It's not something I spend a lot of time practicing. Budget time to come back to neutral phonation. You want to always come back to that. Then work on your line and come back to it. When you work on the line, start it with a neutral phonation and then try to add the growling to it. It is going to be an individual process. There are plenty of tips that you can get out on the internet at large. The thing of it is that when you start incorporating those kinds of sounds into your phonation, it's going to be on an individual basis. In other words, the way, you're going to use the same mechanisms. You're going to probably incorporate a little bit of vocal fry. It's going to include a little bit of separation of the vocal folds, but the intricacies of it are going to be more or less unique to you and your voice. And that's what it is to kind of explore the sort of uniqueness of one's own voice. How you come to those sounds will be unique to you at the end of the day. So come back to neutral. Make sure that you're budgeting time to just focus your voice and get back to that neutral, nice mode of phonation. Thanks for all your work. I sang Carmina Burana, Bass 1, 2 weekends ago with the Marin Symphony. How wonderful. After 47 years absence from choral singing. Ex-boy soprano, tips for head voice singing and rolled R's. Thanks. Head voice. So tips for head voice singing. You're going to incorporate a lot of different things. I suppose the big tips would be make sure your arpeggio breath management is really firmly working for you. You want to make sure that that's really firmly working. That will honestly probably help with the rolled R's too. A lot of times rolling R's and lip trilling, the problems that folks get into is in the continuity of the airflow. So they emit a burst of air right at the start, but then the velocity of that flow of air slowly abates or quickly abates. And the R you can't sustain it. It has to be this sustained energy level. So when you're rolling an R, the physical experience is one of really lifting and lifting and lifting, like I'm working harder and harder from down here. So if you can't roll your R at all, the start is to get it to flap at all. And this will probably incorporate a big burst of air. And then once you can do that, not just once, like you want to be able to do that basically on command. I don't know how long I would have to do that before I would miss one, but let's just say 9 times out of 10 would be a good place to start. Once you can do that 9 times out of 10, then redirect your focus down here and maintain that engagement so that you keep the airflow very consistent. And it might even feel like it's increasing because the energy down here is going to feel like it's increasing. But you're just keeping that air flowing consistently so that the R can continue to roll. I forget what the other aspect of your question was. Head voice. Depends on where you're at. If you haven't established it at all, there's a 3-part series on YouTube that I've done. And it's older, so I look a little bit different and it's in a different place. But the information and the method is still valid and useful. Whoa. Well, that was unpleasant for a second there. I don't know what I just had like a little bit of a I'm probably talking too fast and hyperventilating. That would be the place to start. I have done a delineated method for upper register singing. It's on my website, jeffrolka.com. It's called High Note Bootcamp. It's not free, but it is 52 videos of practical exercises that are in a sequence. And it's the sequence that I use to teach people to sing over the registration event. So you would be going through step by step exactly what we were doing if we were working together in a lesson. For that matter, too, since I'm mentioning breathing for singing, that I just did a breathing for singing course, and that too is on the website. And if you wanted to, and you got those two together, you can get the breathing for singing course for a very deep discount, along with High Note Bootcamp. But all that's on jeffrolka.com. And quite frankly, there's a lot of like free stuff on there too. You might be able to get what you need from the AAA method if you haven't tried that out yet. There's some it's in the guise of the lip trill, but it would apply to the rolled R's as well. At any rate, I've kind of droned on about this for a while. Let's keep going. Hi, Jeff. During the pandemic, I was not singing at all, and I have lost a lot of my range. Do you have good warm-ups for getting my voice back into shape? Similar to the previous comment, kind of depends on where you're at, but that's pretty much what my entire channel is. Like, the whole channel is really about vowel alignment and singing over the secondo passaggio, which is commonly called the break. So, I mean, dive in. Find the video that you can sing successfully. Note the vowel combinations and the exercises that are used in there. And then go on to another video that uses slightly different combinations of vowels. This is part of the reason why there's so many videos on the channel, is I'm really trying to cover as many of these permutations of exercises and vowels as I possibly can, so that what you can do is, when you in finding the video can be a bit tricky, but when you finally find the videos that work for what you're doing, you can then construct your own kind of mode of getting your voice in shape, so that you are doing the vowels that you're successful at, so you have a strong foundation, and then you're going to move on to the videos that challenge the vowels that aren't as strong for you, and then move on from there to the zona di passaggio and mixed voice, and ultimately onto the registration event. That's why there's so many of these videos, at least in part. Jeff, recently I got a cruise job. Congratulations. That's awesome. I nearly set sail myself on a couple different occasions, but at the end of the day, I always chose not to. But I hope you have a wonderful experience. And I have to play 4 sets a day, 6 days a week. That's great. For 4 months. Do you have any tip to keep my voice in good conditions? Thanks for your videos. Yeah, I mean, so keep your fundamentals in shape, right? Like, it's easy on those gigs to let the fundamentals kind of wane over time. So budget time to do your vocalizations. 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. That's not... It's enough when you're singing that much. Yes, more would be better, but let's be realistic. Those environments can be really challenging, and your practice environment is likely to be extremely challenging. Like, we're talking, closets below deck and stuff like that is what you're likely to find. I know a friend of mine literally used to have to practice in the broom closet, like literally where there were mops and buckets and stuff. That's what they had available. That was their practice room. So, 10, 15 minutes vocalizations, not song work, vocalizations. So that's going to help you during the gig, and it's going to help you beyond the gig. Obviously, hydration. Rest is likely to be a challenge. That is likely to contribute to your vocal fatigue. So monitor that carefully. That environment can be really challenging from a sort of social perspective. So being in loud environments, talking at high volumes, really going to challenge your voice, really going to fatigue you. Avoid them if you can, or at least just do everything you can to not talk at high volume. Alcohol is lovely sometimes. It can be nice to have a glass of beer or a glass of wine. Try to exercise caution. If you don't drink, that would be the best. If you do, moderation, absolutely, and consider your hydration very carefully if you are imbibing, because those are going to dry you out and make things challenging. And I would absolutely suggest that you avoid alcohol at any point where you're going to be singing. So if you've got like 2 shows at like 10 a.m. and 11, and then you've got the like a lunch break, and then you got like a 2 and a 3 or a 2 and a 4 or something, no beer with lunch, no wine with lunch. So I'm sorry, I know that's a real buzzkill, but quite literally. But yeah, you just got to really, really keep that in check, because the last thing you want to do is lose your voice or have some kind of issues like that. Hi, Jeff. Thank you for your content. I am a baritone. Can you give some techniques to improve on head voice? Also, I feel like my higher notes fluctuate by a half or a whole step at times. Is that normal? Well, I mean, obviously, presumably if you're asking about technique and head voice, then that would explain the pitch fluctuations. You're not going to have good intonation if your technique isn't developed for use of your, thyroid or cricothyroid dominant singing voice. I mentioned it earlier, so I'll kind of briefly recap it. There's a 3-part series on the YouTube channel. There's a playlist for it too. So if you search through the playlists on my channel, you can find high note series or something like that. So you can go ahead and that's there. High Note Bootcamp is my step-by-step method for working on head voice. That's on jeffrolka.com. It's not free, but it is what I use when I'm teaching people to sing over their breaks. And of course, I'm the one who made it, but if I may say so myself, and in light of all the comments, it's really step-by-step, and it is designed to help you succeed. And there's, in fact, a closed community on the website that if you do have questions and problems, then I can answer you, and you can post video and audio so I can actually hear what you're doing, which helps me help you. So, like I said, brief recap, some free resources, some other stuff that are not free. Thank you very much. Is there any forum or anything where I can share my vocal recording to get ready? Well, that almost seems like you set me up, and now I feel weird because I literally just got done talking about Rolka's vocal community. But yeah, I call it the RVC because saying Rolka's vocal, I can't even say it. It's ridiculous. But it was when I was making the website, it was like all I could think of. So there you go. So yeah, Rolka's vocal community is the community on my website, jeffrolka.com. You can upload audio, you can upload video. I moderate it closely, like really closely. And if you upload something there, then I would be the one listening to it and giving you pointers. That's it. That's the place. Nam, hi Jeff, thank you for streaming. You're very welcome. It was a bit kind of last minute, but I just thought whatever. I tend to do multiple warm-ups per day through baritone, tenor, alto. I try to avoid head voice as it feels an easy way for high accurate pitch. I try to avoid head voice. Well, why would you do that? Like making a smooth transition over the secondo passaggio is the accepted method for high note singing. At least in the... Okay, so that's taken from Richard Miller's book. Hold on. Can I find it? There it is. Okay, so this is Training Tenor Voices. It's really expensive because it's out of print. I bought it a long time ago when it wasn't quite so ridiculously expensive. But here's the thing, is that there's this kind of myth about singing high notes. And and there's this confusion around what head voice is. So if I should have, see, the thing is like I want to mark up this book in order so I can quickly reference things, but I don't like marking it up because at some point I want to sell it and I don't want it to lose value. Where is it here? Register events. Here we go. There is a wide range of viewpoints regarding the incidence of registers in the singing voice. There are teachers who deny the existence of registers, and there are others who claim there are as many as 7. So, translation, I'm a teacher who denies the existence of registers. Belt it out. Push out the high notes. You can just sing higher and higher by increasing the energy. There are as many as 7. Well, there kind of are, but practically speaking, we only really usually notice 1 or 2 of them. Part of the confusion arises from the skill with which the professional singer learns to negotiate the scale evenly so as to eliminate any suggestion of register transitions. The aim of all good vocal technique is to develop an even scale without register demarcations. unless register contrasts are desired for reasons of style or expression. So, and I'm going to need a little bit of lubrication before I start demonstrating anything. Sorry, I forgot to mute my microphone. If I want to do that for some artistic reason, then I can, right? And I'll show you where I am too. So you can see. Sorry, the microphone's a bit in the way. You can hear that there's a register demarcation there, right? It's right in this area here. I'm switching over from my chest voice to my head voice. But did I make a change or not? I did. I am using my voice mostly in the same way in both of those examples. I am still making a transition from my chest voice to my head voice. But I've been practicing for quite some time, and also teaching and examining how all this stuff works for a very long time. And so I can mask that transition so it doesn't sound like there's one there at all. And that is the chief problem that we get into when we listen to professional vocalists, is that if they're really doing their job, it's not going to sound like there's a register shift there. And then we get into that myth of belt it out, sing higher and higher, and you don't need to do all this like head voice stuff, and you shouldn't use your head voice. That's my head voice. Technically, I would call it voce piena in testa, the sound of chest voice in head. But listen to what even that is, the sound of chest voice. It's not chest voice, it's the sound of chest voice in head voice. So now, I wouldn't avoid using your head voice. I would work on making a smooth transition so that the average listener doesn't know the difference. That's what this is about. Like fooling people that I can say, oh, whoops, I should have read your whole comment because I think you're doing that already anyways. Feeling like saying hi but would sound off on stage. Will my head voice become less siren-like, or I need to focus on mixed voice? Thank you. Well, I'm so sorry. I didn't see that you had 2 comments back to back there. Otherwise, I would have read more. But I have to say, I think I kind of addressed it anyway. So we work on the head voice. We work on the mixed range, the zona di passaggio. We make those 2 sound the same, and then we can go back and forth, and it all sounds good, hopefully. How would one know if they are a baritone or a tenor? I'm a 21-year-old male. I think you said male. Yeah. Align your vowels, work on your apoggia breath management, and when your vowels are aligned or getting really, really close in the thyroarytenoid dominant singing voice range, like the chest voice range, then start to move your exercises up so that you're working in the zona di passaggio and around the secondo passaggio. And as you do that and refine your practice in that area, your FOC will reveal itself to you. You'll discover exactly where the secondo passaggio is, and that, in conjunction with all the other tendencies of your voice, will tell you what your FOC is. Hello, Jeff. Hello, Joyce. Hi, Jeff. Any tips on the problem of having a hard time singing and matching the notes? Sometimes it seems I'm matching the notes, but at the same time, I feel like I keep on singing at the same notes pitch. Yeah, that's not an uncommon problem. Some ear training might not be a bad idea, but it can also be a function of how you are using your voice, like the control of your voice. So short vowel exercises are good, you know, we. You might have to do them very slowly. We. we, 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 we. If even that is too difficult, then do a wider interval like a perfect fifth. We, we. With an interval like that, you're probably going to be limited to a very narrow range. It will get better as your overall accuracy gets better, and you can move on from there. Greetings from Greece. For Greeks is easy. Oh, the very good, very good. Welcome, and thanks for joining us today. And I hope all is well in Greece. Things here in California are good, very crisp and kind of chilly this morning. I wish I had my scarf. Thank you for your work. I've improved massively since I started following you. Well, thank you for watching. I appreciate that. I'm going to start recording myself to identify areas of improvement. Can you recommend a microphone to do that? Oh, I do enjoy these conversations. I know I just got done talking about the RVC, the community on my website is in the midst of a huge conversation around microphones and interfaces and all this stuff. If you're using a mobile device, there's a lot of different options out there. I have a Shure MV88. I don't feel like I can really recommend it because it seems a bit brittle to me. The thing is that there's a lot of adjustments you can do in the Motive app. That's the app that you get that controls the mic. But I want microphones to be a little bit more plug in and sound good than that. So, you know, it's a good sounding mic. It does its job. It picks things up really, really well, but it's just a little bit on the bright side for my tastes. Now, if you have an interface and you're just looking for a mic to add to that interface, and so if you're using like a laptop or a desktop computer, then mic selection is really a personal choice, and it depends a lot on your budget. So there are a lot of inexpensive microphones like a Shure SM58 or a Sennheiser E835. Those mics I like quite a lot, but they may not work for your voice. They may not work for your environment too. I would actually recommend you check out Podcastage. Bandrew Scott is the person's name, and he does incredibly comprehensive microphone reviews. That you might be able to get a lot of information there. He often recommends the Samson QU2 or Q2U. That's another mic that he talks about quite frequently, and that might suit you as well. But that's what I would suggest is maybe come up with a budget and then start looking, and then if you can, try them out. That would really be the big advice is if you can try them out, that's your best bet, because the best microphone in the world on the voice that it doesn't work on is worthless. That's the last thing you want. Thank you. So helpful. You're very welcome, Ian. I've improved a lot since I watch your videos. Well, thank you. Tips for those of us who play and sing. I play double bass and electric bass, and I struggle with breathing and playing. Yes, I imagine you do. Especially with like wrapping oneself around a double bass. That's a big old beast. In the electric bass too. I mean, the electric bass would be perhaps to a lesser degree unless you've got like a vintage PV, because those things weigh like a metric ton. I would try to. So here's the thing. When I've worked with guitar players and bass players before, some of them like to have the instrument squarely in front of them because they say that it helps them feel how they're expanding and engaging through here. Others, they find that it impedes their expansion. And so it's like it's either going to be like more squarely in front of you or more off to the side. And unfortunately, like that sweet spot where the neck of the guitar is kind of like gently coming out in front of us is, for me at least, like the worst possible position. I like to have my guitar or bass quite far over, which looks a bit silly, but there I can kind of feel my ribs pressing into it, but it doesn't impede my expansion. And that's how I like it. So you might have to experiment a little bit with your positioning. With the upright bass, especially if you have a full-size bass and you're kind of leaning over and into it, I'm not an upright bass player, so I don't know what's possible with that instrument. But if it were possible to, I think they have stands for those. So if the stand could hold it in a proper playing position so that you didn't have to wrap around it, that would probably be advantageous. If not, if it could lean into you, I'm not exactly sure what would be the thing to do with that. But the big picture item would be, can you be in an upright, expanded and engaged posture and bring the instrument to you as opposed to you going to the instrument? Some experimentation may be required. By the way, I love your postings. Thank you. Oh, and I was assigned tenor when I auditioned in a choir. When I try to practice some of the pieces, I feel that most, if not all, are high for me. Could it be just due to being inexperienced? Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to rely on registration event technique. Like I demonstrated it a few moments ago. If you're still with us, hopefully you heard that. Like learning to navigate the zona de passaggio and the secondo passaggio, it's really, really crucial for the tenor. Otherwise, you get an incredibly truncated range where like you would have just a few notes on the bottom. You know, like you might bottom out down here, but then if you can't navigate the secondo passaggio, which is about here, then you've really only got an octave and a fourth. Tenors really have to learn to figure that out. Otherwise, they just get very, very small amounts of range. Can you help me pass the G-sharp 4 barrier for G-sharp 4 barrier for baritones? I've tried to sing and I've had some A4s, but I can't go past my limits. Any tips? Super lip trill would be what I would recommend for you. You know, so you've got the normal lip trill, or people like to do it without their hands. I like to do it with the hands. I'm not going to go into the reasons for that, but there's another one where you pinch and grab. And that really requires a lot of engagement. That engagement is required for that G-sharp 4 A4 transition. There's a registration event there, and that's what you're coming up against. And we really need that subglottic air pressure for the vocal fold to have enough flexibility to change shape. So that would be the starting point to working on that range. Faster exercises are better. Give yourself a free pass on the overall accuracy. The accuracy will come as that subglottic air pressure gets better established, and you can rely on this system and focus more on the pitch that you want to sing. And it's going to be the combination of your oral training and intention and this engagement, the setting up of this system for the note that's going to generate the nice accurate pitch for you. Any tips for baritone range extension? I just said that. I'm currently top at G. That was like the question I just fielded. So I did 2 with 1 without even knowing it. I'm going to take like maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and then I'm going to have to wrap it up because I got to get to shooting videos. I did this today because I love the energy in these live events. I love like the rapid fire questions and thinking about these things and hopefully helping too. But I got to go. So a couple more here. Thank you so much. I've been using your warm-ups ever since I have found you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. By the way, thank you for all your videos. They're really helpful, easy to follow. Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate that good feedback. Noah's got a big old heart there, and it's like that heart thing. You know, we've got Gen X at the wheel over here, so it's all a little bit awkward, isn't it? Whoa, see what I said? It's all a bit awkward. Thank you very much. Yes, alcohol, it's not an Yes, okay, good. I'm glad. Okay, we're cool. Everything's cool here. I know. Thanks for your content. You're very welcome. When working on your alto videos, I'm always disappointed that you don't go lower. Yes, there's a couple that I do. I try to keep it in the sort of Well, one, if you go far back, then there was a bit more limited range in there where I was focusing a little bit differently on how I was creating the videos. Now I'm covering a little bit more ground in the altos, and we'll continue to do so moving forward. So pick more recent videos, and that might help a little bit. But yeah, like if you're talking about going below the E or the F, yeah, I'm making a point of going down to like the C more frequently, but not all altos have that. And I don't want every alto to feel like they've got to try to get down there. Like that's not really the point, but I'm going to start covering that, just as a general rule when working. All right. Yeah, I just read that one. Last question. Tenor videos exist. Sing with us. Oh, okay, so let's see here. There's so many questions. I'm so sorry I'm not going to be able to get to everyone's question today. Hello, morning, Rolka. Thank you so much for all of your videos. I love you so much. Thank you. Big love to you, too. I really appreciate that. What should you focus on if you want to be a powerhouse singer? This is actually a wonderful way to wrap it up, because to be a powerhouse singer, well, one, define what powerhouse is for yourself and for what it is you want to sing. If you're talking about big, powerful high notes, balance is your friend. So the more balance you achieve in your voice, the more release you will have around the vocal mechanism. The more release of the vocal mechanism you have, the more it will vibrate, and the surrounding soft tissues will vibrate sympathetically along with it. That is your power. And as you continue to engage with that system, it becomes a positive, productive cycle, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, so that you can feed a little bit more subglottic air pressure and a little bit more engagement into it. It's going to resonate a bit more. You can feed a little bit more subglottic air pressure and engagement into it. It's going to resonate a little bit more. And as those soft tissues resonate more and more sympathetically with the fundamental, you get this bigger and bigger and bigger sound. There was an article in Scientific American, I think it was in 2005 or 2006. It was so good. I just think about it all the time and always recommend it. It's still out there. You can go and read it. It's called the nonlinear occurrences in the operatic voice, I think. And yes, it's talking about opera, but we can do those same things ourselves. It's just that how much we adapt our voices to the popular genres, it's going to kind of put a bit of a limit on how much of those occurrences that we take advantage of, because the more that you release the mechanism, the more it ends up sounding like that classical singer. So we have to find a sweet spot where we get as much of that resonance and as much of that freedom and flexibility as we possibly can, while we still remain within the genres that we're singing. And for all I know, you are an opera singer, so maybe that's exactly what you need. But if you're not, there's a bit of a compromise that we make to stay in the popular genres, a little bit of changing of those shapes of the vowels and things like that. But we can still find a sweet spot where we're getting the power that we want and still remaining in the popular oeuvre, if you will. I think, gosh, I know it's... I see the comment about the lava lamp. I got to take the one on the lava lamp. I can't not talk about the lava lamp. So someone's asking about the pink lamp behind me. This is a lava lamp. And it's not real lava, unfortunately. It's just wax. And believe it or not, I used to think this was like some mysterious, like super liquid. It's just water. And there's a light. Woo! Oh boy, that didn't sound good. There's a light underneath there, and it heats up the wax and it burbles around. And it makes these beautiful shapes. I love the lava lamp. I don't know why. I've always loved the lava lamps. I was interviewed in a podcast, and it's going to come out in a couple weeks. I'll let everyone know here on the channel when it does. And Dan, the interviewer, asked me about the lava lamp. It's on You're Hearing Voices is the podcast. I was super excited to do the interview. It was really fun. And Dan was great. He was really, really cool with the questions. But he was asking about the lava lamp too. So I'll talk about it there as well. You can hear all the backstory. Anyways, thank you. I got to start making the videos for the channel. So I am off to do more shooting and things like that. Thank you for participating. Thank you for playing along this morning. I hope I've answered your questions. I'm going to do this pretty regularly, probably about every 2 weeks. Remember, there is questions from comments as well. So if you've got questions, you can submit them there. If you want to be able to interact with me, submit audio or video so I can have a listen and help, jeffrolka.com, the forum there is called Rolka's Vocal Community. It's in the store. You can find it. And you can sign up there and submit your videos and things like that. I can have a listen and tell you what's going on. Until then, though, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Take really good care of your voices. Enjoy singing. We will see you again, either on the channel proper, maybe in Rolka's Vocal Community or on the website in general, or maybe next time I do a live event in a couple weeks' time. Thank you so much.